The long house has stood in this part of Sarawak for 4 generations. 30 families, one long roof, no secrets. When I heard a voice calling from the far end of the corridor, I knew something was not right.
I didn't believe in any of it. Not the spirits, not the taboos, not even the stories about Puaka that cling to old places. Until I spent one night in a longhouse deep in Sarawak. My name is Farid. I was part of a small media team documenting traditional Iban culture. We were invited to stay at a remote longhouse, hours away from the nearest town. No signal, no internet, just jungle and silence. The longhouse was massive, a single wooden structure raised on stilts, stretching longer than a football field. Inside, it was divided into multiple family rooms, but all connected by one long shared corridor. They called it the Ruai. It ran from one end to the other like a never-ending hallway. When we arrived, the villagers welcomed us warmly. Smiles, food, laughter. But one thing felt off. Every time I asked about filming at night, their expressions changed. The village elder, an old man named Jantan, pulled me aside. His voice was low, serious. After midnight, you stay inside your room. I laughed it off. Why? Ghosts? He didn't smile. No. He looked straight into my eyes. Because something walks the Ruai. That night, we set up our sleeping area inside one of the family rooms. Wooden floors, thin walls, old photographs hanging everywhere. Around midnight, everything went quiet. Too quiet. Even the jungle sounds disappeared. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, slow, dragging. From outside our room, on the Ruai. At first, I thought it was one of the villagers, but then, knock. 3 soft knocks on our door. My teammate Ayman looked at me. You expecting someone? I shook my head immediately. Another knock. This time, slightly louder. Then, a voice. Soft, familiar. Farid. My blood froze. It sounded like my mother. That made no sense. She was in KL, miles away. Ayman whispered, "Open it." I shook my head immediately. No. Something felt wrong, very wrong. The voice came again, more desperate. "Farid, open the door, please." I stepped closer, heart pounding, and then I remembered what the elder said. Don't go out after midnight. I didn't open the door. After a few seconds, the voice stopped. The footsteps slowly moved away, down the Ruai, dragging, fading. We didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I told the elder everything. He didn't look surprised. He just nodded. You heard it already. I asked him what it was. He hesitated. Then he said one word. Puaka. He explained that many years ago, something happened in that longhouse. A tragedy. People died violently, but no one ever left. Now, he said, it wears faces. I felt a chill run down my spine. That day, we continued filming, but I noticed something strange. The villagers kept staring at me, not in a friendly way, almost like they were watching, waiting. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Footsteps. But this time, there were many. Not one, not two, but many, walking slowly along the Ruai. Then, whispers, dozens of them, layered, overlapping, all calling names, different voices. I covered my ears, but I could still hear it, inside my head. Then, suddenly, bang! Our door shook violently. Ayman woke up instantly. What the hell was that? Then, silence. Complete silence. I slowly walked to the door and looked through the gap in the wood. What I saw still haunts me. The Ruai was full, dozens of figures, standing, still, facing our door. But their faces, I recognized them. My uncle, my childhood friend, my teacher, even my mother. All of them just standing there, smiling. But their eyes were completely black. Then, all at once, they tilted their heads and spoke together. Farid. I stumbled back, my entire body shaking. Ayman grabbed me. What did you see? I couldn't speak. Then the door handle started moving, slowly, creaking. We hadn't locked it. The door began to open, just slightly. A hand reached through the gap, thin, pale, too long. Then another and another, dozens of hands pushing the door open. We ran straight to the back window. I didn't care anymore about rules, about respect, about anything. We jumped from the longhouse into the mud below and ran into the jungle. Behind us, I heard it. Not footsteps, but something worse. Crawling. Fast. We didn't stop running until sunrise. When we finally found help, we told them everything. But when authorities returned to the location, there was no longhouse. Nothing. Just empty land, overgrown, abandoned, like no one had lived there for years. They told us a longhouse used to stand there, but it was burned down after a massacre. No survivors. Everyone inside was killed. That was over 20 years ago. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. Soft footsteps outside my room, and a familiar voice calling my name. Farid.
Every night, 3 knocks. It was coming from beneath the floor. Hafiz told himself it was pipes. Then one night, his daughter pressed her ear to the floor. The knocking stopped. She smiled. "They found us," she said. The land was cheap. Too cheap for a place just 40 minutes outside Kuala Lumpur, surrounded by quiet greenery and untouched forest. When Hafiz first saw the property listing, he thought it was a mistake. A double-story house, newly built, modern design, and priced far below market value. The agent didn't say much when he asked why. His wife, Aina, loved it immediately.
The silence, the privacy, the sense of escape from the city, it felt like a fresh start. Even their 6-year-old daughter, Yaya, seemed unusually drawn to the place, wandering barefoot across the yard the first time they visited. She stood in one spot for a long time, staring at the ground. On the day they moved in, the sky was overcast, not raining, just heavy, like something waiting. The movers worked quickly, eager to leave before dusk. Hafiz noticed how none of them stepped onto the patch of soil at the back of the house. They carried everything around it. That night, the house felt settled but not welcoming. The air was still, thick, as if the walls were holding their breath. Aina brushed it off, blaming exhaustion. Yaya fell asleep almost instantly. But Hafiz stayed awake longer than usual, listening. Sometime past midnight, he heard it, a faint scraping sound. Not from the walls, not from the roof, from below. He got out of bed slowly, careful not to wake Aina. The wooden floor was cold under his feet as he moved toward the hallway. The sound came again, soft, dragging, like something shifting beneath the ground itself. He froze, trying to place it. The next morning, he found nothing unusual. No broken pipes, no loose panels, no signs of animals. The backyard looked the same, except the patch of soil seemed darker, wetter, as if it had been disturbed. Yaya refused to wear her slippers that day. She said the ground felt better without them. When Aina scolded her, the girl only smiled faintly and pressed her feet deeper into the earth. "I think someone is under here," she said casually. Aina laughed it off, but Hafiz didn't. There was something about the way she said it, like she wasn't imagining, like she was remembering. Days passed, and the house began to change in small, almost unnoticeable ways. The floor near the back door felt uneven. Doors that were perfectly aligned before now creaked slightly when closed. And every night the sound returned. Always after midnight. Always from beneath. Hafiz started checking the ground outside before going to bed. Each time, the soil looked slightly raised, like something pressing upward from below. Not enough to notice at first glance, but enough if you were looking for it. Enough to feel wrong. One evening, he decided to dig. It started as curiosity, just a small hole near the edge of the patch. The soil was softer than expected, damp and loose, as if it had been turned recently. He dug deeper, faster, his hands trembling for reasons he couldn't explain. Then he stopped suddenly. His fingers had touched something. He pulled his hand back instantly, heart pounding. For a moment, he just stared into the hole, unsure if what he felt was real. The soil shifted slightly, collapsing inward, as if something beneath it had moved. That night, Yaya didn't sleep in her room. Hafiz found her standing at the back door, staring into the darkness outside. "The people are calling," she whispered. Aina rushed over, pulling her away, scolding her for being out of bed. But Yaya resisted, not violently, just stubbornly. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ground outside, unblinking. "They're angry," she said softly. The temperature in the house dropped after that. Not drastically, just enough that they began wearing socks indoors. The air felt heavier, harder to breathe, especially at night. Hafiz started waking up with dirt under his nails. He didn't remember going outside. Aina noticed the smell first. It was faint at the beginning, earthy, damp, like wet soil after rain, but it hadn't rained in days. The smell lingered in the living room, strongest near the back door. No matter how much she cleaned, it never went away. Then came the footprints. Small, muddy prints leading from the back door into the house. Not adult-sized, not animal tracks, just small, bare, like a child walking in from the yard. But Yahya had been asleep the entire time. Hafiz stopped digging after that, not because he didn't want to know, but because something inside him already did. The soil wasn't just ground, it wasn't just dirt, it felt occupied. One night, the sound changed. It was no longer scraping, it was knocking, slow, deliberate, from beneath the floor. Aina heard it too this time. They both stood in the living room, frozen, staring at the ground as the knocking continued. Not random, not chaotic. It had a rhythm. 3 knocks, a pause. 3 knocks again. Yahya walked toward the sound before they could stop her. She knelt down, pressing her ear against the wood, her small hands flat against the wood. For a moment, everything went silent. The knocking stopped completely, as if whatever was below knew she was listening. Then she smiled. "They found us," she said quietly. That was the night Hafiz realized something else. The soil outside wasn't rising anymore. It was spreading. The edges of the patch had begun creeping outward, slowly overtaking the grass around it, and the line between yard and soil was no longer clear. And the closer it got to the house, the stronger the smell became. The foundation began to crack days later. At first, it was barely visible, thin lines along the floor near the back door, but they widened quickly, splitting across the tiles like veins. From those cracks came dirt, not falling from above, pushing up from below. Aina wanted to leave. She begged Hafiz to pack their things, to go back to the city, to forget the house ever existed. But every time they made arrangements, something went wrong. Calls failed, cars wouldn't start, plans fell apart. It was as if the house didn't want them to go. That night, the knocking returned, louder, closer, and this time, it wasn't just coming from beneath the floor, it was coming from the walls. When they found the word on the wall of their daughter's room, written in something dark and wet, it was just one word: Mama. Their daughter was 4. She couldn't write yet, but something in that house could. When Daniel and Suraya moved into the bungalow in Selangor, it felt like they had finally escaped years of struggle. The house was too cheap for its size, too quiet for its location, too perfect. The agent never explained why the previous owner sold it so suddenly, only that he had relocated overseas. But Daniel didn't question it. People like him didn't question luck. The first night passed peacefully. The second night didn't. At exactly 3:12 a.m., Suraya awoke to a soft, broken sound. Crying. Not loud, not desperate, just soft, like a child trying not to be heard. She nudged Daniel. Did you hear that? He groaned, half asleep. Probably cats. But Suraya knew the difference. This wasn't outside. It was inside the house. The crying returned the next night, closer this time. It came from somewhere near the back of the house, where an old rubber tree stood, tall, twisted, and oddly scarred. Its bark looked like it had been cut repeatedly, deliberately. Suraya stood by the window staring at it. The crying seemed to come from beneath the tree. That's when she noticed something strange. The soil looked disturbed, as if something had been buried there. On the fourth night, she followed the sound, barefoot, half asleep, drawn. The back door was already open. She didn't remember opening it. The air was cold, too cold for Malaysia. The crying was clearer now, wet, gurgling, hungry. At the base of the rubber tree, she saw it, a small glass jar, half buried in the soil, covered in black oil. Something moved inside. She should have run. Instead, she knelt. The crying stopped instantly, replaced by silence. Then, a soft, childlike whisper. "Mama." Suraya's breath caught. Her hands trembled. "I'm not your mama." The voice broke her. Something deep inside her cracked. A feeling she couldn't explain. A sudden overwhelming need to comfort, to hold, to protect. Behind her, Daniel shouted, "Suraya, don't touch that!" Too late. The lid twisted open. What crawled out wasn't human. It was small, gray, skin stretched too tightly over its bones, eyes too large, teeth too sharp. But it smiled, like a child who had been waiting for a long time. Daniel grabbed her and pulled her back. The thing screeched, high-pitched, furious, then vanished into the shadows. The next morning, Suraya was different, quiet, distant. But sometimes she smiled at nothing. Food started disappearing, small things at first, eggs, milk, sugar, then money. Notes vanishing from Daniel's wallet, coins gone, jewelry missing. Daniel knew what it was, a toil. He had heard stories growing up, a creature bound to a master, fed with milk, used for stealing. But this one didn't feel like it had a master anymore. It had chosen one. Every night, Suraya would wake up and leave the bed. Daniel followed her once, silently, carefully. She walked to the kitchen, poured milk into a small bowl, placed it on the floor, then whispered, "You must be hungry." From the darkness, it came, crawling along the ceiling, upside down, watching him, smiling. Daniel froze. The thing tilted its head. Then it spoke. "You're not needed." The temperature dropped, the lights flickered, and suddenly it was behind him. The next morning, Daniel couldn't remember how he got to bed, but he noticed something. Scratches, deep ones, across his chest, like small hands had tried to open him. Suraya didn't seem to care. She spent more time outside now, at the rubber tree, talking, laughing, sometimes singing, like a mother soothing a child. One night, Daniel heard something new, not crying, not whispering, but digging. He looked outside and saw Suraya kneeling by the tree, digging into the soil with her bare hands, bleeding, smiling. "What are you doing?" he shouted. She turned slowly, eyes hollow, voice soft. It's cold for him. The hole was deep now, too deep, and inside it, bones, tiny ones, wrapped in old cloth. The truth hit Daniel all at once. The previous owner hadn't taken the toil. He had buried it, sealed it, abandoned it, and now it had been found. Suraya climbed into the hole, cradling the tiny remains, rocking gently. "It's okay. Mama is here." The toil appeared beside her, no longer hiding, no longer small. It had grown, its limbs longer, its smile wider, its eyes darker. It looked at Daniel and spoke. She opened the jar. Daniel ran. He didn't stop, didn't look back, didn't even pack. Days later, when authorities entered the house, they found the backyard disturbed, the rubber tree cut down, the soil overturned, but no bodies, no Suraya, no remains. Only one thing, a small bowl filled with fresh milk, and beside it, tiny wet